I'm just here to express why God has called me to take this position.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down our picks for the Joe Rogan guests whose appearances have become more controversial over time due to their disturbing actions.
They're testing a bunch of stuff. They're manipulating things.
Number 10, Elon Musk. At the time, the most controversial aspect of this interview was the fact that Musk at one point took a hit of Rogan's blunt.
The company's chief accounting officer and head of HR both announced their departures hours after Musk's pot-smoking appearance.
More relevant is their discussion of how AI could be used against us.
I try to convince people to slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile.
Today, Musk is a champion of AI. He's also acquired a significant amount of authority, becoming Donald Trump's right-hand man and the head of Doge. After Trump's inauguration, Musk gave 2 back-to-back fascist salutes at a rally. This was a dark sign of things to come, as Musk's tenure has already been consequential for many, from marginalized communities to working-class federal employees.
This is a new ultimatum from Elon Musk, telling all federal employees they must respond to this email listing their accomplishments or resign.
In hindsight, it's easy to be upset that Rogan gave him a platform that helped his rise to power.
Elon Musk, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise.
It really has been.
It's been an honor. Thank you for having me.
Number 9, Jamie Kilstein. During his interview, comedian Jamie Kilstein defended jokes about sexual mistreatment, which escalated into a debate over whether murder was a more serious crime than sexual assault.
We don't know what they're going through. We don't.
Later, Kilstein was dropped from the Citizen Radio podcast and his record label after being accused by multiple women of unwanted sexual advances. Throughout his career, Kilstein had painted himself as a progressive.
I think one of the reasons that we got such a grassroots following was because we were super poor. Like when we started the show, we just stopped living out of our car.
So his views and behavior were a surprise to his followers. He was accused of using his supposed position as a male feminist as an excuse to act inappropriately.
What I said was, it seemed like you were preaching to the choir in a way that you thought they wanted you to hear.
I never thought that was
No.
Number 8, Milo Yiannopoulos. In the late 2010s, British journalist and conservative commentator Milo Yiannopoulos became infamous for his free speech advocacy and college campus tours.
What is it that you want? What do you want the world to do?
Well, I don't represent the alt-right in any way, shape or form, but the larger battle here, the thing that I fight for on American college campuses, is the right to be, do, and say whatever you want.
Yiannopoulos was a controversial figure for many reasons, including his open homophobia, despite once openly identifying as gay, and his opposition to feminism. His level of right-wing extremism meant Joe Rogan faced criticism for platforming the divisive figure.
I don't give a stuff about what the conservative establishment thinks of me. If I did, my career would have turned out very differently.
During one of his appearances, Yiannopoulos even talked about boat parties he attended, held by major Hollywood figureheads, at which he admitted boys who were very young were abused. In the wake of his defense of such abuse, Yiannopoulos resigned from his position at conservative news outlet Breitbart.
I regret the things that I said.
He was also banned from Twitter, which severely lessened his influence.
Well, I've been outrageous. I haven't said anything I don't believe, but I've been outrageous.
Number 7, Gavin McInnes. Disgraced alt-right commentator Gavin McInnes was once the co-founder of Vice. During the 2010s, however, he became known for his harmful rhetoric as founder of neo-fascist organization The Proud Boys, which has been taken to court for acts of violence.
The former top leader of the far-right Proud Boys extremist group, along with 4 other members, charged yesterday with seditious conspiracy.
When McInnes appeared on Rogan in 2017, he had formed the gang only 8 months earlier, and few had heard of him, which raised questions about who Rogan was willing to platform.
It's like the Elks Lodge.
Okay.
Like Masons or whatever.
Celebrating manhood.
Yeah, no woman allowed.
Ah, wow.
When the Joe Rogan Experience moved to Spotify as part of a $100 million deal, The McInnes episode was one of a handful that did not make it to the service, but the damage may have already been done. You wouldn't believe how much that one podcast changed my life, McInnes said in a resurfaced clip.
All these far-right guys have made it clear they love to argue with anyone on the other side, and the other side knows that they will lose.
Number 6, Candace Owens. Candace Owens is a conservative commentator known for her alt-right positions and criticism of the Black Lives Matter movement.
You know, and I just kept saying to people, I do not betray my race. I betray stupidity all the time.
During her Rogan appearance, Owens advocated for Donald Trump and engaged in climate change denial, saying the climate was not impacted by the use of fossil fuels.
You don't believe in climate change?
Well, I think the climate always changes, I guess.
As climate change continues to be an ever-growing threat to humanity, the spreading of misinformation on the topic has become an even greater issue. In 2023, only 54% of Americans viewed climate change as a major threat to the country.
The climate is forever changing. Like that's the problem, is that people are making it seem like that's something weird.
No,
it's not
that's
unique.
not. You're misrepresenting the issue.
Despite Rogan's pushback at the time, it's questionable for him to have guests with these stances on his show in the first place.
Open to learning.
Okay.
Open to learning. I'm always open to learning. I've been wrong before. I was a liberal 2 years ago, you know?
Number 5, Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder is another conservative commentator Rogan guest who has seen his fair share of controversy throughout the years.
When leftists congregate, it's generally not a peaceful assembly, not in the same way as when people who are right-wing congregate.
He has been demonetized on YouTube twice due to racist and homophobic slurs, in addition to spreading misinformation about the 2020 election results. So again, this is another Rogan guest who was always questionable. And that's before we even mention his terrible stand-up.
Look, they're confused. They're confused. You know why? Because I'm not your gender studies professor who has to cater to your trigger warning, microaggression, safe space bullshit.
Crowder became even more difficult to like after allegations of spousal abuse surfaced in 2021, alongside a disturbing video in which he criticized his ex-spouse for failing to perform her, quote, wifely duties, unquote.
So you're not taking a car?
Stephen,
you're not taking a car?
Stephen,
you are not.
Then I will ask them to pick me up.
Number 4, Dr. Robert W. Malone. Dr. Robert Malone was an original contributor to the technology behind mRNA vaccines. Malone used his time on Rogan during the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic to criticize vaccine mandates and distribution.
The policy that's being implemented is one in which no discussion of the risks are allowed, because by definition they will elicit vaccine hesitance.
He called the public reaction to the pandemic mass formation psychosis.
When you have a society that has become decoupled from each other and has free-floating anxiety and a sense that things don't make sense, we can't understand it, and then their attention gets focused by a leader or a series of events on one small point, just like hypnosis, they literally become hypnotized and can be led anywhere.
Fact checkers were quick to point out the misinformation that was being peddled on Rogan's platform, which at this point was being mass distributed by Spotify. To date, over 7 million lives have been lost to the coronavirus, a staggering number and a stark reminder of what vaccine misinformation helps to contribute to.
We're not connected socially anymore, except through social media. And then this thing happened and everybody focused on it. That is how mass formation psychosis happens, and that is what's happened here.
Number 3, Jordan Peterson. So-called free speech advocate Jordan Peterson has made multiple appearances on Rogan's podcast over the years.
You know, I think when you have like complex, fascinating brains, they go off in all kinds of different directions. Don't you think?
This is one of the dangers of being creative, right? Most creative ideas are wrong, and a good section of those wrong ones are fatal. But now and then you get one that's necessary.
In his first, he voiced frustration with what he called enforcement of gendered pronouns in Canada. He claimed that someone could face jail time for not using an individual's pronouns.
So now professionals are bound by law to offer gender-affirming advice. They're bound by law.
Another controversial topic he discussed on the platform is climate change, with Peterson saying that our planet's climate is too difficult to accurately model.
It's a religion.
variation.
It's a religion.
Yeah.
It's a partial pseudo religion, and I mean that technically.
Peterson has been criticized by everyone from social justice advocates to climate scientists for the stances he's taken on the podcast, with many wary of the influence he has, especially on young white men.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure to see you, Joe.
Number 2, Alex Jones. Far-right conspiracy theorist and radio host Alex Jones is known to be extremely vocal about his controversial opinions in a matter that is damaging to both others and his own reputation.
The U.S. has a giant weather weapon hidden in front of everybody in every town and city.
In his out-of-control appearances on the Joe Rogan Experience, Jones loudly criticizes world leaders with an almost infectious enthusiasm. At the end of the day, his misinformation and unfounded views should not have a platform.
They want to corrupt the scientific elite to go along with their agenda on climate change, to go along with their agenda on viruses, to go along with their agenda because they know scientists are respected.
Remember, this is a man who even stooped so low as to criticize the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting.
Today, a major step towards the families of Sandy Hook victims finally getting at least some of the money legally owed to them by right-wing conspiracy theorist Alex Jones, a judge clearing the way for Jones to liquidate his assets.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1, Kanye West. Rapper and fashion designer Kanye West, who now goes by Ye, appeared on Joe Rogan's show in 2020.
What would be different about the way you would handle things? Like, if that's your plan, like, what is it about that is your calling? Like, why would you want to do that? Like, what do you want to do differently if you were the leader of the free world?
Well, there was a couple questions in there.
There have been many tumultuous periods throughout Ye's career. However, this was a particularly eventful time for the artist during his catastrophic run for president. His appearance on the show was characteristically erratic, with Ye expressing so many personal and political ideas that it was hard to keep track of what he was saying. At this point in his career, Ye has fallen even further into disgrace, with his praise of Hitler and spreading of anti-Semitic conspiracy theories.
Are you sorry you said that?
No.
I think it matters. You should be.
Absolutely not.
In hindsight, we really wish Ye would have gotten help during his past struggles, instead of his issues constantly being ignored for the sake of entertainment.
You were coming from the heart, and that's what we all need right now. We all need no bullshit.
Absolutely.
Is there another Rogan interview that's chilling to watch with the context of today? Let us know in the comments.